welcome to Comic-Con at Home 2021. I am Ajani Brown, director and producer of Jimmy Diggs' Afrofuturism Black to the Future panel. This is our 4th year in the panel series, our 2nd time we've appeared on Comic-Con at Home. This year's panel will commemorate Black women's contributions to science fiction and fantasy. Our panelists include science fiction grandmaster Nalo Hopkinson, Afrofuturist scholar Ytasha Womack, science fiction writer Jewelle Gomez, editor, publisher Sheree Renee Thomas, and actress Quia Howard. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present Jimmy Diggs' Afrofuturism Black to the Future 4, The Ladies.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Nalo Hopkinson. She is a Kingston, Jamaican-born Canadian speculative fiction writer. She is best known for her novels Brown Girl in the Ring, Midnight Robber, The Salt Road, and a short story collection called Skin Folk. The highlight of her many literary awards includes a Locus Award for the Best New Novel, a John W. Campbell Award for Best New Writer, a World Fantasy Award, and most recently, the 2020 Damon Knight Grand Master Award for Lifetime Achievement presented by the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. Please welcome Nalo Hopkinson.
Hey, glad to be here.
All right, nice to have you here. Next on our panel is Ytasha Womack. She is an author, filmmaker, scholar, and dancer, best known for her book, Afrofuturism, The World of Black Sci-Fi and Fantasy Culture. Her book is the leading primer on the subject and was a finalist for the Locus Award for Nonfiction. It is also taught in high schools and universities across the world and has been translated into Spanish and Portuguese. She is also the creator of Rayla 2212, a time-traveling reincarnation book series that follows the character Rayla Ilmatic and inspired the Race in Space conference at Duke University. Her film, A Love Letter to the Ancestors from Chicago, is an Afrofuturistic dance film that won Best Experimental Film at the Collected Voices Festival. Please welcome Ytasha Womack.
Hello.
Hi, Ytasha, welcome aboard. Jewelle Gomez is an author, poet, critic, and playwright. Her writing has appeared in a variety of outlets, both feminist and mainstream. Her work centers on women's experiences, particularly those of LGBTQ women of color. She is widely known for her double lambda literary award-winning novel, The Gilda Stories, which has been in print since 1991. The story reframes traditional vampire mythology by taking a lesbian feminist perspective. Her fiction and poetry are included in more than 100 anthologies. Please welcome Jewelle Gomez.
Hi.
All right, it's wonderful to have you here, Jewelle. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheree Renee Thomas is a writer, book editor, publisher, and contributor to many notable publications. Thomas is the editor of The Dark Matter, a Century of Speculative Fiction from the African Diaspora, and Dark Matter, Reading the Bones anthologies. Both Dark Matter books are winners of the 2001 and 2005 World Fantasy Award for Year's Best Anthology, which are collected works by many African-American writers in the genres of science fiction, horror, and fantasy. Most notably in 2020, Thomas was named editor of the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. Please welcome Sheree Renee Thomas.
Hi.
And last but not least, an alum of the Black to the Future panel, Miss Quia Howard, representing the entertainment industry. She is a television and stage actress who has appeared on Black entertainment television Soul Train and The Way We Do It. both the TV production and theatrical stage play. She has also worked as a morning anchor radio personality for Clear Channel San Diego. So please welcome Quia Howard. As I said before, she is an Afrofuturism Black to the Future panel alum.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, ladies. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Well, folks, this is our fourth iteration of Afrofuturism Black to the Future. And we've got a special theme this year, as you may have guessed by our panelists. I also want to point out something else different. You may notice that I am missing a tooth. Yes, I'm missing a tooth. And
Stolen by aliens.
No, actually, it was worse. It was worse.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently, my tooth about a month ago got loose. And in a fit of testosterone-induced hypermasculinity, I grabbed a pair of pliers.
Ay, ay, ay.
And I did the deed. I just didn't want to have to worry about going to the VA or anything like that. So, I just manned up and yanked it out. So in keeping with the theme of avoiding hypermasculinity, we now have an all-female panel. And I'm so excited this. The problem with our Afrofuturism panels before, the special guest of honor, the first one was Nichelle Nichols. And Lakia has been a guest before, but the panel's been a bit lopsided. So, except for myself and my missing tooth, this year, we have a testosterone-free zone. Afrofuturism, Black to the Future for the ladies. Yeah. All right. And
Finally.
yeah. And I'm particularly happy about this because, but like most, I think, African-American men, the women in our lives have been more than pivotal. The women in our lives have been inspirational, and they've been fundamental. My grandmother, my mother is the one who taught me to read. My mother is the one who gave me respect for the written word. In the 4th grade, while she was washing the dishes, I would read Shakespeare to her. So in the 4th grade, I had mastered the iambic pentameter, and my mother worships the written word. And that translated into later on, as you can see, being an Afrofuturism writer. And all the other women in my life, the majority of whom have been African-American. And I think it's important for us to give this most important sector of our society, to give the goddesses their moment in the sun, to give them their roses now. So welcome, goddesses. Welcome, all of you. Anybody have, well, let's talk about first, get this out of the way, because I don't want to put it at the end, because we could, I want to give as much time to the topics that we want to discuss as possible. Let's talk about what you're working on now, okay? So Nalo?
I have a novel actually done that I've been working on for 15 years, and my agent is currently shopping it around. So I'm sort of taking a moment to breathe, work on short stories, and move to Vancouver. I'm leaving the US, I'm moving back to Canada. So all of that's happening now.
Oh, the government to Canada.
Say so.
All right, Jewelle, what are you working on?
Well, not one to rest on my laurels, since I had the one novel that's been in print for 30 years. I thought I'll write a sequel finally.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm writing, I have several chapters already written and they've been, published here and there, but I wanted to write something about Gilda that is much more deeply involved in what it means for her to go from being a woman who's escaped from slavery with no power at all to being a woman with power over life and death as a vampire. So this one is a little bit darker and a little bit more complex than the original. And if it can stay in print for 30 years, I don't have to write anything else.
Ooh, you ever thought about doing a screenplay?
I have not gotten there yet. You know, Cheryl Dunye acquired the rights to the original Gilda Stories. So my fingers are crossed. She wants to maybe do a miniseries, a TV miniseries. So we're
That would
waiting
be
to
the
see
way
what
to go
happens with
today.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the current market, that's the way to go today.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Sheree Renee Thomas.
Hi.
Thank you for taking your time from studying the manuscripts at Timbuktu. And besides that, what are you working on?
I'm working on some wonderful stories from great writers for the magazine of FNSF, which I'm very excited about, coming up very soon. Also just finished editing African Risen, which is an anthology of original science fiction and fantasy and horror from the continent of Africa and her diaspora. So that's coming out next year from Tor.com Publishing. And I finished editing, co-editing also a collection called Trouble the Waters, Tales from the Deep Blue, which is water mythology from around the world. So that's coming out this fall from Third Man Books. And I'm writing new stories for wonderful people that you will hopefully see very soon. And I just am working with Ytasha and several other amazing people to help Carnegie Hall curate their very first groundbreaking Afrofuturism festival in New York City, which will happen next spring. So we're very excited about that.
Ooh, I wonder if a certain science fiction writer could get a panel on that thing. All right, we'll discuss that later. We'll discuss that later. And Ytasha Womack, what have you got cooking up?
Well, I have a graphic novel called Black Cube that's coming out next year that I've been working on during a lot of 2020. It's a project I did with illustrator Tana Tucker. I'm quite excited about. It's coming out on Megascope, Abrams Books. And I am, what the heck am I doing? You know, I feel like I'm in like writing utopia right now. So I do have some stories that are in quite a few collections and developing new writings. And now I'm working on another Afrofuturism book as well, which I'm
beautiful,
jumping up and down about.
Okay. The Quia Howard.
Hey guys, hi Queens. So I am currently working on a Black-owned cosmetic line to be contracted with the Academy for future awards going down the line. So hopefully we will be launched and ready to go for next year for award season. It's called Cali Cosmetics. And so hopefully that will all go smooth and be ready to go for 2022. I also have been doing community activist work for the county that made Georgia go blue. Yay! So yes, that's my county. I'm very proud. We were out here making it happen, and I'm very proud that we made it happen. So,
I saw pictures of you out there campaigning.
Yes, we were doing it. We made it happen. I'm very proud of it. And so I've been working on some community work to get our area, the particular county that made the state blue, a lot better and safer for the people here in our county.
Okay.
It's comforting in a way, and it's discomforting in a way to know that certain things in history had to happen for us to have gotten to the point that we are at today. And as an actress, I've said this before on panel that I've been in the industry on and off for about 15 years now. So to see more things coming to light for us as women of color, and to see our crafts being recognized and broadcasted the way that they are, it's a phenomenal thing. When I went to the Oscars, it was the year that Black Panther was nominated. And it was amazing to share that experience on the carpet with the cast. I remember talking to some of the governors and members of the Academy, how they were trying to make a new category because they didn't want Black Panther to be in the Best Picture category, and had a real thorough, in-depth conversation with some of the policymakers from the Academy. And I explained to them how important it was for them not to segregate it into a different category, because they didn't want to come to the understanding that we are here. We have made it, and we can create things of such power and it be like the best. And we shouldn't be, diminished because maybe their project didn't do as good as our project. So I was very proud that they went ahead and put it in the Best Picture category. It was a blessing and an honor to walk the red carpet with these cast members, producers, and everybody who was affiliated with that project. And I'm very happy to see everything that's going to come to light. I'm not really a reader unless it's for things that, I have to do. I'm a visual person. So to see a lot of books and stuff transition into these beautiful Afrofuturism projects is amazing. And I'm here for it. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in our future.
Yeah, Lakia is being a little modest, but she's very well connected to the Academy Board of Governors.
And I love that you didn't let them do to Black Panther what the
it was a very serious conversation, and it was with some board members that were board members for the last 2 decades, and even before I got into the business. But it was a good conversation, and they really took it was like me. It was behind the scenes, so it was like me just speaking to them for all of us.
Bless.
And if I had not been there, in the place where I was at that time, well, only God knows what could have transpired. So I'm happy and I'm blessed to have been the voice of reason to push that into the category that it deserved to be in.
Yeah. I'd like to do a shout out to Darnella Frazier, who shot the video of George Floyd being murdered by the police. And, she got a special Pulitzer citation for her bravery and persistence in recording that murder. And for a teenage girl to see something like that happening and understand, a young Black woman to understand this is important. I can jump on that cop's back and save this man, but I can definitely record that. And it's inspired me to try to write a story about a young videographer with her phone who can change history by the kinds of things she films. So it has in my computer, it's become a speculative fiction story about a young woman who has the power in her phone to create a different kind of reality. So I feel like all the work that we do affects young women of color in so many different ways we don't even know it.
Right.
Same way that Nichelle Nichols influenced so many young people. I mean, you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about it. You hear, I'm forgetting the young lady's name, the astronaut. Help me out.
Yeah.
Mae Jemison.
Right. And again with, and I think even the young lady who developed our modern COVID-19 vaccination technology, she was heavily influenced by. So we have no idea, who this work is going to influence. We just have to keep doing the good work and letting this voice be heard and not letting anybody shut it down. And the opportunities are out there. I had a weird situation happen. Well, I wouldn't know it was weird, but it was unusual. I was in Beverly Hills, and a producer, a successful producer, a very successful movie series, walked up to me and asked me if I could write him a Hallmark Movie of the Week movie. And but me, I'm monsters and science fiction and exploding heads. And I'm going, well, I mean, and he wanted me to do it from an African-American or an Afrocentric point of view, Afrocentric Hallmark movie. You know what I mean? And I said, well, I guess if the Black woman falls in love with an alien from outer space, maybe I could do it. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a real challenge. I'm not exactly a rom-com kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Hallmark meets Brother from Another Planet.
Right.
Ooh. Oh, now I owe you some money.
Yeah, I think you have some ladies.
Sister
who
from
could
another
probably
planet.
testify to having
Right.
dated
Oh,
aliens.
oh my goodness.
You can
This is
bring
what
in.
I get for talk. Huh? What was that? What was that, Renee? Sheree?
I said, or you can bring in some Black women writers who actually published novels for
There
Hallmark.
you go.
Right. Right.
For decades.
Bring in the experts.
Right.
Absolutely thrilled to help.
Do I know anybody like
Kimberly Jenkins. I mean, we could just name sisters that have been doing this that could help you make it an amazing a film that we would love to see year after year.
True that.
I
So
would love
when
to see.
when do you get back from Africa?
I would love to see somebody tackle Justina Ireland's Dread Nation. I mean, who expected Black women warriors fighting zombies? Post-Civil War.
Everybody.
Right. Post-Civil War. I mean,
Whoa.
it's such an great alternate history zombie story with
In what time
amazing
period?
post-Civil War. And it's alternate history of what happens after the Civil War and the zombie incursion and former enslaved girls being sent to a particular school supposedly taught to fight zombies. I mean, and I'm not a big zombie person. I only really read it because, it was about Black women. So I think it's pretty amazing.
Well, I wasn't a big zombie person either before, Walking Dead. It wasn't about the zombies for me. It was the characters. So I think that's the one thing that people are going to take away from these wonderful stories and books that you all write that you're talking about. It's about the characters. It's about the universality of the story. It's about the human condition. And what people need to learn is that condition is just as important when the face is feminine and melanated. I think that is maybe that's what we're really starting to learn here. You know what I mean? It's time for, I know I keep referring to it, but it's time for the voice of the goddess to be heard.
Amen.
Yeah,
And I think it's not just about, I think we have to reinterpret what we mean when we say universality, because it's also about the particularity of various Black experiences and the way that those are experiences anyone can have. But when we bring in our culture, we bring in our language, we bring in our history, it's very, very particular, and it speaks to audiences who've been longing to see that. So yes, universal, but also very specific. And science fiction is about culture. That's really the basic story of science fiction. So I think it's a very good place to be putting our stories.
And I think for us to understand who we are as human beings on this planet, we have to engage in other cultural perspectives and other life perspectives. Look at these other worldviews, and we can connect to them all, but I think it gives us answers and insights that enrich us, whether we've personally experienced these things or not. It helps us to understand who we are as a human society.
And I think, literature specifically has always been most successful when it focuses on the specificity of whatever the character or culture is. There's a reason that there's a thing called Bloomsday where they read that Irish novel from cover to cover for 24 hours. And it's, Irish, and people love it and swear by it and would not have a literary life if they hadn't read his novel. And it's so specific. That's one of the reasons it's so good. And I feel like when we insist that the specificity of our lives is as universal as the specificity of other lives, that's when we we accomplish what we want to accomplish. That's when our stories are really good. And it's up to us. We can't wait for other people to accept us. We have to keep punching through and not get too comfortable. That's the thing, not get too comfortable.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. I teach at a university where the student body is well over 70% people of color from all over the world. And to hear a lot of the undergrads in my classes say, well, I thought I couldn't write this or that or the other. I thought it was too out there. And like, that's what art is about. It's about making your mark. But they feel they have to fit in, and they're always very surprised when I bring in stories from different cultural perspectives, different genders and sexualities, and they've never seen anything like this before, and that needs to stop happening. That invisibility that they're experiencing really needs to stop happening. I was watching a Korean science fiction movie, Space Sweepers. Director and writer is Jo Sang-hee, and forgive me, sir, if I'm mispronouncing your name, but one of the lovely things he did was the actors spoke in their own accents and their own languages, and he sort of created a technology that is a translator so that people could just speak how they speak. And there's one scene where the actor is speaking off camera to the main character, and his voice comes out, and I thought, wait a minute, that's Pidgin. Because I can kind of understand it because I speak a little bit of Jamaican and they're very close. I thought, is it, please, let this be a Black actor, let it be an actor from the continent. And the camera pans to him, and it is, and he's just speaking Pidgin, and it brought tears to my eyes. And this very science fictional movie set on a space station, off the planet. And there he was. It was.
What's the name of the movie again?
Space Sweepers by Jo Sang-hee. And it does some, well,
wait a minute, I think that's, I think I almost saw it. Isn't that on Netflix? Yes, okay, now I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Yep.
Great. Sleepers.
I thought that was very interesting about when they did Black Panther. They had a long discussion about, well, what kind of accent were they going to use? Because even when you're talking about the continent, there are so many different accents. I mean, the Nigerian accent is definitely distinctively different from a South African accent, from a Kenyan accent, or an Ethiopian accent. They sound nothing alike, you know what I mean? And they finally said, I thought it was so interesting that they finally settled on a South African accent. You know, I mean, because that immediately brought you images for me of Stephen Biko and Nelson Mandela, you know, and the whole struggle against apartheid, so that they would use an accent from a nation that had to fight so hard to find its separate identity and its new liberated identity, and they use that to define a nation that had never been conquered. Really.
Didn't the accents in Black Panther also, different people had different accents from different countries in Africa. And at one point, I think it's the river tribe or the mountain tribe, when the ceremony is happening, and people are saying,
all honor to Anuman.
We're not going to challenge, and different different tribes.
Yeah.
The old woman who says it, I'm pretty sure it was a Jamaican accent. And I went and looked her up, and she's in her 70s, and it was her first acting role. And that voice came across. She says maybe 6 words. And I was there.
Nice.
And you know what's kind of cool too, I think, that if you think about all the different accents and kind of across the Black speaking pantheon, there's a relationship between these accents, you know, and, you know, to think about that and play with that and finding, you know, different groupings.
When you're thinking about dialogue and pronunciations, one of the interesting things for me is when writing characters is that, for the most part, and of course nothing is totally definitive, but often women have really different speech patterns from men. And trying to create that in fiction has been really interesting for me. I wrote a story about a novella about a woman who's having a full body tattoo in the future. And of course, the tattoo it bonds together the woman and the image that's being tattooed on her. And the fellow who's doing the tattoo has to have a very different speech pattern from her, in part because it's happening back and forth between the two of them as he's doing the tattoo, and they are the predominant characters in the story. And it has been really interesting for me to try to write in the ellipses, because women tend to speak a little bit more open weave, where male characters tend to be much more tight weave. That's the way I would describe it. And I think people mistake women's speaking patterns with either not being self-assured or not knowing what they're talking about, when in fact, it's usually that women are more considered before they speak. And I find it really interesting. And certainly I write plays, and that has been a really big deal for me, to make sure that I can get the female speaking pattern in the script, so that as directors are working, they don't mistakenly have everybody talking the same speed and the same register and the same everything. And that's one of the reasons writing women characters is so much fun.
Nice.
I think it's
Yeah.
to have different, like as you say, the rhythms, but also the different accents, especially if you're doing something that's like African based and historical. Because one of the things that was such a stereotype, if they had Black actors in science fiction movies, one, they were separate from family and community. It would be one lone Black man or one lone Black woman. And they didn't really have a community with them. And then also you would have people, the whole idea of the future was British, I guess. People have British accents in the future. Why do they have in this world of billions of people, in the world that's mostly people of color, right? Why would that be the dominant, accent? Not even American English, so, but
I'm afraid that was Doctor Who's fault. Sorry.
Yeah, and all those historical British stories where the Romans have. Yeah. I'm like, why are they speaking with that accent? Why is it, I don't know, more Italian?
Here. So to have a place, or you to have your project based in basically the birth of humanity, the birth of human civilization, the land of many languages, even in one country, is like multiple Nigerian accents based on the tribe or what have you, just like, and even in Memphis, multiple Memphis accents, depending on what part of the city that you're from. That's another thing that's exciting about this time period, because you don't have to explain it that much. You don't have to do it that deeply, because it's almost like an awareness. Okay, there's this richness in our world, and that's being shown in the world building, and that's being shown in your cast and all the choices that you're making as the writer and director, and even like the amazing costumes that Ruth Carter made for the Black Panther movie. It's just, she pulled out all this rich textile history, and you could just look at it and say, that's Kuba cloth, that's mud cloth, that's, that's prayer, Ghanaian prayer cloth, that's, all this other, amazing stuff. And it's like that richness is there. And so that's the fun thing, I think, that's happening now, that, people from these nations are writing their own and creating their own science fiction, and they're finding audiences, they're excited about it, they want to go there with you. So, yeah.
One of the things. Go ahead, Ytasha.
No, go ahead.
One of the things I'm realizing I have to look out for is people preying on younger creators or Black creators who are trying their voice for the first time and who don't know anything about how the industry works. I've spoken to 2 people in the past 2 weeks, both Black writers who are just starting out, and one is trying to self-publish, and the company doing the production wants to charge her for every little thing. And she's adding up her pennies to see if she can pay for this. And another one, the person who wants to be his agent, she told him that it was quite common now for agents to charge fees. And luckily he thought to ask. So
okay, let's
how low do you have to be to prey on a writer?
Yeah, let's tell you one thing. A lot of people come to these panels to get information because, you know, we're in the business, we're in the industry, we know. So let me put something out there right now for all you young aspiring writers. I don't care if it was television or whatever, okay? There's one rule out there. Legitimate people in this business make you money, they don't cost you money. Remember that. Legitimate people in this industry, they make you money, they do not cost you money. Somebody keeps coming to you with their hand out, get away from them, okay? You're not even supposed to get excessive headshots. You get some good headshots, you get satisfied with those, and that's it. You don't keep going to classes over and over and over again. Become a professional class goer, you know? You get the basics you need, you get out there and you get to work. I'm gonna say that one more time. Professional people in this business make you money, they do not cost you money, period.
I'm just
okay, that's my testosterone coming out again, sorry.
Your editor, your agent, they make money when you make money. You know what I mean? But your editor, you got to pay for that skill set. That's time. So pay for your editor.
Right. You want to appear good in production.
Don't be out here, because I get a lot of people in my box thinking that I'm getting ready to donate what I do for a living. No. Go to the Editorial Freelancers Association, check out those market rates and be aware of what you're asking. Figure out what the levels of editing mean: developmental, substantial, you know, line editing, copy editing, proofreading, code reading, totally different things. And check and be aware of it. But you got to pay your editors. Everybody else, agents, you know, they make money when you make money. But editor,
I pay my actors, I pay my special effects people, I pay my cameraman, I pay those people who are like employees, okay? And I pay them, okay? But when it comes to the pre-production part of this thing, you know what I mean? Right now, the Writers Guild has a strike against the agents, okay? They have not signed on to a bargaining agreement with the Writers Guild. And last I heard, if you're selling a screenplay, correct me on this, I'll look into it later, but last I heard, no agents, okay? And if you do need to get your material to somebody, you can hire a lawyer to submit your project to the studios for you, okay? You come find a good lawyer, one that you trust, you know, come up with an agreement, and he can submit your project to whatever studio, if they insist on having a third person, okay? But I've always
manager.
Yeah, manager. There's no strike against the manager so far. Okay.
Just make sure your lawyer actually has done some research in the field that you're doing it in, because sometimes people think just because they have a JD, they could just read every contract. No, they need to know what's boilerplate. They need to know what the guild recommends. They need to understand the industry before they're, you know, just putting out random contracts and stuff. It's just not every JD can do that. So make sure that your attorney has taken some time to become aware of what are good conventions and what is honorable in the field in representing writers, so that that you have a good chance of having a deal that works well for you. Yeah.
One more.
And there's also a difference between if you're writing books, there's a literary agent. So there's not a strike against literary agents, agents who just represent books and they're pushing them to publishers.
I'm talking about screenwriting.
There's a strike, right, with the screenwriting. And, you know, when you talk about managers, a lot of times the managers on the screenwriting TV side, not on the book side. And then when Sheree's mentioning an editor, a lot of times that's if you're self-publishing, you know, and you're creating a work, you might reach out to an editor before you decide to either self-publish it, or if you want an editor before you submit it, to look for an agent on the publishing side. So, you know, when you're a writer, it's, you know, it's different lanes depending on the medium.
Yeah, and the information is out there.
Information.
Yes, so get the information. Don't ask your friend unless your friend is actually a professional agent.
Do not ask your friend.
When your friend comes to you and says, "I love this book, I want to be your agent," thank them and have them be your cheerleader, not your agent. They're there to support in a much different way, and their hearts are in the right place. But if they don't have the training, they are not going to be able to help you. Don't be afraid to look for people with the training and who are associated with the professional associations. Give your work the due it deserves. You've worked hard to make that thing. Don't let people try and nickel and dime and take, they're going to charge you to make the book cover. Screw that.
Special effect.
Does that get a ding?
Yeah, you just got a ding. Dorothy Fontana, who was one of my mentor, she actually had to change her name to DC Fontana to get her work sold. And because if they saw Dorothy on the cover, they would just dismiss it. It would go right into the circular file. She told me another thing, and writers of screenplay, I don't know if it's true for literary writers, but for screenplays, here's another warning for you. Under no circumstances, and I mean under no circumstances, do you share your created by credit with a producer or anybody else. You keep your the created by credit is the only piece of power that you have, and you don't share it with anybody. And for someone to even ask you to split your created by credit with them is unethical. Remember that, it is unethical to even ask, okay? Never share your created by credit. I mean, if you got a writing partner, and I mean by writing partner, I mean and for sand writing partner, because in Hollywood, there are different credits. If you see a person's name and the ampersand symbol, another name, they were a writing team. If you see after that an AND, somebody, they were brought in by the studio to do a rewrite, okay? But if you've got somebody that you are a co-writer with, and for sand, that individual, yeah, sharing the created by credit with them is just fine. But no one should even ask you for that, okay? Anybody does, walk out.
Yep, there are so many pitfalls for young writers, and trying to start out, particularly starting out in a very specific field like speculative fiction. In many ways, it's kind of helpful because there are so many organizations and conventions in speculative fiction that you can go to and get that information from people who have experience. Now that we're in post-pandemic, we hope, and the conventions will start up again, which I'm really looking forward to. You can go, if you're writing spec fic, you can go to conventions, you can talk to people who know what they're talking about, pretty much free of charge, and really learn from other writers, learn from agents who come to these things. I feel fortunate to be in that particular genre, because there is so much going on. There is, as I've talked about before, there's a community that can assist you, or at least point you in the right directions.
I think one of the reasons that I would go to the cons in the first place. I mean, that's how I met two of my most important mentors, Larry Niven and Dorothy Fontana, was the cons were smaller then. You could meet people, you could develop relationships. But I'm going to tell you, all you aspiring writers out there, nothing can beat the personal relationship. Nothing can beat, I know you may not live in Los Angeles if you want to be a screenwriter or whatever, but somehow go to these writer seminars where these well-known established writers are actually talking, giving advice. Talk to them, get to know them if you can on a one-on-one level, because I've never had an agent, never. I've had a lot of sales, I never had an agent, because I always had personal relationships. They are invaluable, okay?
Exactly.
And once in a while, you will find someone who isn't very melanated at all, but they'll believe it. But they'll believe in you. They will believe in you. They will believe in you. They are out there. Remember that Jackie Robinson had his Branch Rickey, okay? And the ones that are out there, the ones who are smart enough and sensitive enough to see the gold, the diamond in the rough, the golden idol that you really are, they'll help you. They'll help you. But you got to develop. Yes, you got to develop that relationship first.
My first book sale, the editor was Betsy Mitchell, and she was one of those people who saw what I was doing. And my agent, who's been my agent for about 15 years, his name is Donald Moss, once told me that he was probably the whitest person on God's earth. And he's not far from wrong. But again, but again, that man has been in my corner, doing his work, being a professional, helping my work get out there for 15 years.
Well, when I started writing the Gilda Stories, I mean, I literally was told by some people of color, you shouldn't write that book. Why would you want to connect vampires with Black people? Why would you want to connect vampires with lesbians? I mean, it was really, really, it was discouraging in many ways. Although
we're very conservative people. We are a very conservative people.
We are. We are. And I knew there was an audience because I would do readings from the stories and people would show up and were in love with it. But I will tell you, out of the blue came a postcard from Joanna Russ, not Black, but who was one of my icons as a speculative fiction writer and thinker. And she sent me a postcard and said, just keep writing. This is a great book. Just keep writing. And I kept that up over my desk for the years that it took me to write the Gilda Stories. And she had no skin in the game, as they say. She just knew that she wanted more women and she wanted women of color in the field. And she reached out to encourage me. And I've been forever grateful to her for that. Rest her soul.
Mm-hmm.
I had a funny little experience with, maybe I shouldn't say the actual name of the network, but they're a network of color. And
ding, 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 ding.
And I had actually shaken hands with the current CEO of that network, saying that we were going to do my science fiction animated series based on a female Black bounty hunter who was like, Cleopatra Jones in outer space kind of thing, right? I'd already written several episodes. They loved it. And it was really going along. We even had Vivica Fox attached, okay? And they took a second look at the name of the show and they said, no, we can't do it. But now it's getting looked at again. I'll tell you the name of the show. The name of the show was Coochie Rogers, Space Bounty Hunter.
Yes.
Coochie Rogers, Space Bounty. But it was spelled Couchez, the French spelling. Right? And it was like Men in Black in outer space, but with a female heroine. And we were rolling on it. You know what I mean? And you should see some of the animation I got. It's pretty amazing. But finally, that Black conservative speak came out and they said, no. Because people started calling, when word of it started to get out, people were going, what? Her name is what? But the funny part is this was actually named after a very dynamic young Black woman that I knew from Detroit. That was her actual name. Yeah. And
it's so funny. You said it's a Black network of entertainment. And my earliest memories of Black networks of entertainment was very similar to Coochie Rogers.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, you learn more about female anatomy watching those things than.
Oh my God. No, it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't
not
like
you,
that at all.
not you. I have faith in you. I'm just saying.
But you know how in the 1950s, how in the 1950s, or even before, the thing was that the alien from outer space always wanted the one, like in Buck Rogers, I want you to marry me. You know what I mean? And then later on, the alien would want to abduct the female and, like Mars wanted all our women kind of thing. You know what I mean? Aliens are always lusting after human women, but it wasn't, it was innocent.
Our shopping habits.
You know what I'm saying? So, it wasn't like that, it wasn't overtly sexual. It was, just a tiny bit,
Sure.
There was some double entendre.
Yeah.
For instance, the double entendre for Coochie Rogers was, no, I'm never going to say it. I'm gonna use it.
Don't say ding, 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 ding.
Watch
before you
that ding,
say it.
ding, ding. Well, I think it's
But
interesting.
now,
how
guess
the-
what? There's more interest in it, so you might actually see it.
Good.
I think it's interesting how sci-fi in the 50s, certainly, and somewhat in the 60s, projected, the writers projected their fears, their prejudices, their anxieties onto space aliens when
even
they
their
could
hidden
have just said, the black people from outer space invade, you know.
Ding, 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 ding.
Right. Quite the
Well,
metaphor.
Oh, yes.
Well, ladies, I love this. It's, this always happens. Once we really get having some fun and it turns into a party, we have to say goodbye. It's been absolutely wonderful having all of you aboard. This has been a very special panel, and you've opened my eyes to a brand new world. And I'm going to have to go out there and find a talented young melanated woman to help me write this Hallmark movie.
Mm-hmm.
Go
Not
for
the
it.
Hallmark movie.
You'll love it.
So
Go
thank
have
you
fun.
so much. Thank you so much, Nala, for being here. And Jewelle, Lakia, Sheree, and Ytasha. Thank you so much. And I love the quaffs. I love the Afrocentric expression in the quaffs. All that. You guys are popping today. You're all popping.
We'll see you next
has been
time.
popping in this room today. All right. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Thank you out there for watching Afrofuturism for the ladies.
Sounds
Bye,
like an
everybody. Bye,
invasion.
everybody.
Yes.
See you next year in San Diego.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll
Hey.
all be there.
All right.
All right,
It's nice
thanks,
to meet
ladies.
you, ladies.
Good
Okay,
to
let me
meet
get-
you.
Let me get
Have a great
one thing of you guys waving and smiling goodbye. Okay, so Nala, you first. Nala. All right. Okay, and now Jewelle. Wave and smile, Jewelle.
Jimmy.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Lakia. Lakia, wave and smile. Oh, you froze up. Your screen froze up.
Queen
I
wave.
froze it?
Yeah, you're frozen. Oh, okay.
Wave
Okay,
going.
wait. One more time. Keep going. One more time, because you. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, Sheree.
Lakia,
All
we're
right.
going to have to write a part just for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I already did.
I'm
This is
ready and
okay.
available.
Ytasha.
with no limitation.
Ytasha.
I don't see Natasha. Where's Natasha?
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for Afrofuturism, Black to the Future for the ladies. Now it's time for me to hand out the Golden Poopy Award. This is the award that we give the panelists who had the most explicative deleteds during our little conversation. And this year, the award goes to me. Yeah, I kind of figured it's done it. I'm the only ball of testosterone on the panel, and I go into trash mouth mode. Fortunately, with only one poopy, which is a record low. Hopefully next time I'll do better. But thanks so much for viewing us, folks, and we look forward to joining all of you in the Rio in San Diego in 2022 for hopefully Afrofuturism, Black to the Future 5. Thanks, folks. Have a great year. We'll see you in San Diego. And remember, here at House of Diggs, our motto, this far by faith.